Who's buying this much XRP? A Bitcoin analyst questions Ripple's rumored $20 billion bid for Circle. That's the headline from Crypto Basic. But wait, do we even need to stress about it? Here's why. Check out this headline from The Block. Found it right here. Brad Garlinghouse says Ripple never made a bid to acquire Circle, shutting down those reports. Yep, you heard that right. According to Garlinghouse, Ripple wasn't aiming to snag Circle or take over USDC, the world's second most popular stablecoin. Well, isn't this something to chew on? But what about all those other stories out there coming from reputable sources that suggest the exact opposite? A lot to unpack here. Oh, and as for the idea of someone buying this much XRP, if the deal actually went through, call me skeptical. We'll dive into that a bit later, so stay tuned. Before we go any further, though, let me be upfront. I don't have a financial background. This isn't financial advice, and you absolutely should not make any investment decisions based on what I say or write. All right, now that's out of the way, let's get into it. This story has been swirling around the news cycle for about 5 weeks now. Here's the original piece, as reported by The Block. Back on April 30th, Ripple made waves by pitching a $4.00 to $5 billion 0 cents offer to buy Circle, according to Bloomberg. But the offer? Rejected. Bloomberg was the first to break the story, giving it some weight. At the time, we discussed the rumors because, let's face it, nothing was certain. Neither Ripple nor Circle would comment, which wasn't surprising. Silence can often say a lot without actually revealing anything. Still, Bloomberg is no stranger to reliable scoops, so we couldn't help but wonder if there was more to the story. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't, but it definitely got people talking. Interestingly, Bloomberg wasn't the only one with sources in the weeks that followed. Plenty of others came forward with similar claims, adding to the intrigue. Honestly, it's part of what makes this whole situation so baffling. Was there ever a deal on the table at all? Maybe not. That's pretty wild to think about. Anyway, fast forward to April 30th, and then by May 20th, we see headlines like this. Ripple reportedly proposes $11 billion in cash in XRP to outbid Coinbase for Circle acquisition. This story spread like wildfire, covered by numerous media outlets, and much of it traces back to commentary from Paul Barron. Paul Barron is a well-known figure, especially in the tech space, is a popular YouTuber with a massive following, 1.4 million subscribers to be exact. While his content isn't exclusively crypto-fumic, he does dive into crypto topics occasionally. He's no amateur either. Paul's sharp, thoughtful, and far from the rumor mill crowd. On May 19th of this year, he dropped some pretty intriguing news. According to him, there's a bidding war brewing between Ripple and Coinbase for Circle. And get this, Ripple might just have the edge with a rumored price tag of $9 to $11 billion. Now, this doesn't mean it's set in stone, but the info is coming from multiple sources said to be credible. Trusted individuals have shared this intel, which gives it a bit more weight. I know we've all been there. I'll say it again. I know nothing is ever guaranteed, but how did things go this disastrously wrong? We're not talking about being slightly off. This feels like a completely made up story that was never going to happen. And now here comes the latest headline. Circle coin issuer Circle targeting $7.2 billion valuation in upcoming IPO. I won't dive into the article, but it seems this might actually be happening possibly within the next week. Big moves, right? But wait, let's shift gears. According to The Block, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse just dropped a bombshell. Ripple never made a bid to acquire Circle, despite what recent reports suggested. In a conversation with Georgetown Law's Chris Brummer, Garlinghouse called the rumors fake news. No $4 to $5 billion deal was ever in the works. He was crystal clear. Ripple never went after Circle. So much for that narrative. While he wished the company's success, Brummer made it clear it wasn't on his radar. Sharing the update on X this Tuesday, this followed a conversation on stage at the Ripple Las Vegas conference just 48 hours earlier, a chat that wasn't initially broadcast. Curious, right? So if Brad Garlinghouse really said this to Brummer, fine, but why did Ripple stay silent until now? And suddenly, just like that, they're ready to comment? It's baffling. What's the real story here? The whole situation feels like something straight out of a thriller. And let's not forget, Ripple announced their own stablecoin, RLUSD, back in April of last year. It wasn't called RLUSD then, but the news made waves. Meanwhile, Circle seemed to play it cool, staying professional. The whole thing is just wild. They wished Ripple the best, but I couldn't help thinking, all right, Ripple is clearly gearing up to go head to head with Circle. It's still early days in the crypto world, which means there's room for a heavyweight like Ripple to step in and shake things up, especially with their massive financial war chest. If they play their cards right and avoid any major missteps, they could really make this work. But here's where it gets interesting. Circle isn't sitting back quietly. Oh no, they're firing shots of their own. Recently, Circle announced a remittance and payments program, essentially mirroring what RippleNet has been doing. Coincidence? Not a chance. So now we've got two giants stepping into each other's lanes, both deciding in the same year to compete directly in their rivals' territory. The crypto showdown is officially on, and it's going to be fascinating to watch. So all that went down, and suddenly you're thinking, wait, could this be like spaghetti and meatballs? Two pieces coming together in a way that just makes sense? It's believable, sure, but who knows? Maybe there's some embellishment here, or maybe something was brewing quietly behind the scenes. Still, it doesn't seem like Brad Garlinghouse made any formal moves. Maybe there were just some casual backroom talks, and maybe that's why Brad is choosing his words so carefully. Will we ever know the full story? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, it's wild to think about. Now, here's where it gets spicy. Bloomberg broke the news that Ripple made an offer to Circle, but Circle turned it down. It was apparently too low. And then Coinbase, with its deep ties to the stablecoin world, allegedly swooped in with a counterbid. A Circle spokesperson has firmly denied rumors of a sale, stating the company is absolutely not for sale. Instead, Circle is gearing up to go public at an impressive $7.2 billion valuation, potentially as early as this week, under the ticker CRCL. The plan includes offering 32 million shares of Class A common stock, priced between $27.00 and $28.00. Interestingly, back in 2022, Circle scrapped a planned SPAC merger that would have valued the company at $9 billion. Now, here's where things get interesting. Would this have been bad news for XRP holders? Honestly, I'm not so sure. After all, there's more than one way to build a successful business strategy. Ripple wasn't about to recklessly flood the market with XRP, crashing its value overnight. That's just not their style. As they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat, or in this case, run a business. So the big question is, where's the money coming from? There are some plausible answers, sure, but let's dig a little deeper. Enter today's hot topic. Who's ready to scoop up this much XRP? A Bitcoin analyst has some thoughts, and they're not holding back on Ripple's rumored $20 billion bid for Circle. Could there have been informal talks behind the scenes, maybe not directly involving Brad Garlinghouse, but possibly happening on the sidelines with him loosely aware? It's all speculative, of course. Maybe there was even a slim chance of the deal going through. But with Brad stepping up and saying what he did, it feels like the whole thing is unraveling. Or maybe it was never on the table to begin with. Never say never, right? Strange things can happen, and maybe this is one of those times. Who knows? Maybe something big actually goes down. But honestly, I'm not holding my breath after saying all this. Now, let's dive into the question at hand. Would this be a bad move? Here's the scoop. The buzz is all about Ripple's rumored interest in acquiring Circle, the issuer of USDC, and it's lighting up debates across the crypto world. Bitcoin enthusiasts are speculating whether Ripple might need to sell off a chunk of its XRP holdings to finance the deal. But here's the kicker. Most of Ripple's XRP stash is locked in escrow, so their room to maneuver might be more limited than people think. There's been a lot of buzz in the XRP community around a quote from Bitcoin analyst Dave Weisberger. He posed an interesting question. If Ripple is planning to acquire Circle, how would it raise the necessary funds? Would it involve selling billions of dollars worth of XRP? And then he added, who's going to buy this much XRP? Well, if it's on the open market, someone's going to buy it. It's just how markets work. The real question is whether selling such a large amount in a short period would impact the price. Sure, the buyers are out there. It's just a matter of how much they're willing to pay. If you're asking who in the literal sense, it's a bit of a moot point. If you mean who at this price, well, that's where things get interesting. It's hard to imagine anyone buying, at least not many, if Ripple suddenly flooded the market with billions of XRP. A massive dump like that would tank prices, but really it's absurd to think Ripple would sabotage years of goodwill they've built with the community. The backlash would be intense, pure outrage. It's almost unthinkable they'd take such a reckless step. Interestingly, attorney Fred Rispoli, a notable figure in the XRP community, shared a thoughtful take on this scenario. Oh, and speaking of opinions, David Weisberg's clip, packed with some sharp insights, gained traction fast. It was first shared by Scott Melker, aka the Wolf of Wall Streets, with his massive following of 1 million. Attorney Fred Rispoli recently shared an intriguing post commenting, "I love Dave Weisberger, but on this point, he's McCloning." A playful jab, likely referencing Mike McGlone, a Bloomberg analyst. Respoli is pointing out that based on the offers he's personally seen for Ripple shares in the secondary market, Ripple wouldn't even need to sell a single XRP to acquire Circle. For those unaware, Ripple shares are available for accredited investors on secondary markets. Respoli's takeaway, the demand for Ripple shares is skyrocketing. He's suggesting the interest is so high, Ripple could fund such a move purely through its share value without touching its XRP reserves. Bold statement, but also a testament to Ripple's growing market appeal. Dave Weisberger chimed in with a valid question. Fred, aside from selling XRP, where would Ripple find $10 billion in cash? He added that Ripple could make it work if Circle's management agreed to an all-stock deal or accepted XRP, though not without a hefty discount. Fair point, but it's a big if. Attorney Respoli wasn't convinced. His take? No way Ripple can pull off $10 billion, 0 cents in cash. He also argued that $10 billion might be an overpay. Interestingly, private research pegged Circle's end of 2024 valuation at $15 billion, and that number seemingly excludes the $36 billion XRP in escrow valued at around $36 billion. That's a lot of XRP, no doubt about it. Every Ripple valuation I've seen has left out their XRP holdings, and for good reason. It's widely understood that the paper value of XRP is just that, a number on paper. Realizing that value in any short time frame, virtually impossible, even if the XRP weren't locked in escrow, and it is. Dumping it all at once would tank the price, leaving it worthless. So whatever XRP looks like it's worth on paper, it's never been fully factored into Ripple's valuation. Sure, maybe some portion of it gets considered with smart math applied to estimate a realistic amount, but it's always heavily discounted. I know this because I've spoken to people familiar with the matter. No, I'm not claiming insider connections, but people with insights into Ripple's thought process have shared this with me. You might snag a major discount here, but that's about the only move in play. That $15 billion valuation, it's not really taking XRP into account, and attorney is absolutely right on that front. He also mentions it depends on how the company financed the Hidden Road acquisition. And let's talk about that because, wow, that was a wild move, dropping $1.25 billion on Hidden Road, which could be one of the best things to ever happen for XRP. Huge. Then, right after, whispers of a $4 0 cents to $5 billion 0 cents acquisition with Circle by the end of April. My reaction, wait, what? That's a lot all at once. But here's the kicker. It's apparently not happening after all. Attorney Spoli suggests that if the buy price lands between $7 0 cents to $9 billion 0 cents, having $1 0 cents to $3 billion 0 cents in cash, leveraging a hefty stock exchange and taking on some debt could get the deal done without significantly selling off XRP. It's a stretch, but doable, especially with all that GCC money flowing through the crypto space right now. Makes sense, right? That's pretty much in line with my thoughts. I'm not sure what Ripple's balance sheet looks like at the moment, but they've historically held over $1 billion in cash, sometimes closer to $2 billion, like 0 cents. Could be more now, honestly. It's hard to say. On top of that, Ripple does have consistent XRP sales monthly that add liquidity. Considering how valuable Ripple is as a company, why not explore a loan to make this happen? So here's where my mind was headed with this. If the stock is actually worth more than people realize, there are so many angles to explore. Sure, it could have gone down too. Honestly, at this point, I'm not convinced any of this will play out, but it's an intriguing thought experiment. People have been buzzing about it, so I figured I'd toss in my 2 cents. This all came up just yesterday, and honestly, what a letdown. If it's not going to happen, you can't help but feel like, wow, that's a missed opportunity. If Coinbase was seriously in the mix too, that would have been some fierce competition. So is Ripple going to seize it? Even if not, like I've said before, it's still so early in the crypto game. There's room for another giant to rise. Imagine a decade from now, there could be a powerhouse out there, and maybe it's RLUSD. This is absolutely fantastic news for XRP. Why? Because every single RLUSD transaction on the XRP ledger relies on XRP talk about being indispensable. This is undeniably great for XRP holders. Stable coins are here to stay, and honestly, I'm all for it. It's a win all around. Anyway, that's the update for now. What a roller coaster ride this has been, right? The back and forth can be wild. What's real, what's not. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't make any buying